This is a lecture on the two moral dilemmas that we discussed so far. That's the Baby Teresa case and the Jodi and Mary case. So, moral dilemmas are special moral situations because they don't give the agent a very easy task to determine moral accountability of agents involved. Moral dilemmas are complex moral situations in which the moral agent is confronted with basically only two choices, and both choices have good and bad consequences. So let's unpack the two moral dilemmas that you have uh, tried in this class, and let's analyze the different elements, moral elements for each. The test case number one is for baby Teresa. Teresa Ancampo Pearson, now known as baby Teresa, was born with anencephaly. This in its own right is not an unusual event except that her parents, Laura Campo and Justin Pearson, upon finding out that the condition would be rapidly terminal and the prospect of any sentient life non-existent, expressed a desire to offer baby Teresa's organs for transplantation. So this is an extreme altruism, but it provoked ethical and legal debate. Why? Because harvesting her organs would be tantamount to killing her. So Teresa was still alive, and when and if they harvest her organs, it would be tantamount to close to murdering Teresa. So the case was referred to the courts, and the court, under Circuit Court Judge Estela Moriarty, ruled that doctors can take as many transplant organs as possible from the terminally ill 6-day-old infant as long as they don't kill her in the process. She went on to say, I can't authorize someone to take your baby's life, however short, however unsatisfactory, to save another child. Death is a fact, not an opinion. So this is a true story that happened in Florida, which even reached the Supreme Court of Florida. The issue is whether anencephaly is considered dead. While the court deliberated on the definitions, Teresa, however, died. Okay? So, the issue was whether a congenital disease or a congenital disability in the case of anencephaly can be considered death. What is an anencephaly anyway? If you Google it, you'll find out that anencephaly would mean that the child has a less developed brain. That means Teresa may not even be aware that she is alive in the first place. That means Teresa has no awareness, consciousness of herself as a person, and she will never grow as a normal human being who even knows that she existed in the first place. In fact, hindi rin ito pwedeng magkaroon daw ng sensory at pain receptors. So she might not even be experiencing pain in the first place. Okay? So, while they are debating on her case, baby Teresa died, and the result was there were no organs. If there were few, hindi lahat ng organs yan na-donate. Okay. So you were given 3 choices in your activity. First is you should donate Teresa's organs because it would benefit a lot of children lining up for organ donation. The second choice is You should not use human beings as ends or as means to an ends. And the third principle is the human person, a single life, the human person has a dignity that no single life is worth the life of many. The instruction is choose which of the three is the best plausible ethical reason. Now, this example can be analyzed in the following way. Since this is a dilemma, that means you have two choices. Either donate her organs or wait till she dies. As a dilemma, it has two possible consequences. Let's consider the positive consequences for each. The positive consequence if you donate the organs is that many children can benefit from her organs. The positive effect if we wait till she dies is that she is not inadvertently killed. However, there are negative consequences for each. The negative consequence if we donate her organs is Teresa is, even if inadvertently, dead pa rin siya. Okay? And if we wait till she does, the possibility is it could be few to no organs donated. So now you see a dilemma as it is. Kaya ka tinawag siyang dilemma kasi either way, yung dalawang choice mo, ang hirap mamili, no? If you choose to donate the organs, merong positive, may negative din. If you choose, however, to wait till she dies, meron din siyang positive, may negative din. Okay? So, it is a dilemma because titimbangin mo yung choices mo. So, in your assignment, you were given 3 choices. The first choice is summarized simply as the benefits principle. Ibig sabihin, if the result could be beneficial to a number of people, then it should be the right action, regardless of what the means or what the action is. The second choice is for you to realize that humans are never means to an end, or hindi dapat ginagamit ang isang tao bilang kasangkapan lamang. And third is the dignity of life. Wherein one life is not worth many. Notice that these are all principles. These are all fundamental principles which are true. This is where the dilemma comes in. You now have a conflict of values. The value of benefits principle, the value of humans are never means to an end, and the value of the dignity of human life. If you follow the benefits principle, you would have to donate Teresa's organs. If you follow human beings as not an end and life as dignified, you might be deciding to wait till she dies. The two choices that we have are now supported by equally valuable principles. Ito ngayon yung issue ng dilemma. Paano ka pipili dito? Okay. In your assignment, I noticed that majority of the class chose this. That would mean majority of your class, of your classmates, think in the line of utilitarian or consequentialist ethics. Okay. Now let's proceed to the second dilemma that we used. The case of Jodi and Mary. A young woman from Gozo and her husband went to England to have her conjoined twins delivered. So the twins were conjoined at the lower abdomen. Their names are Jodi and Mary, respectively. Their spines were fused, but both of them had one heart and one set of lungs. So na kay Jodi yung mga vital organs. So she's the one providing blood supply and oxygen supply for her sister, Mary. The doctors claimed that they could die both in 6 months, if not separated. If they undergo operation and be separated, Mary would surely die because she doesn't really have heart and a pair of lungs. Now, the parents are devout Catholics and refused the operation because they believe that nature should take its course. If God's will that both our children should not survive, then so be it, said the parents. The hospital, however, had an obligation to do what is right, and that is to save one life if it is possible. So they asked the courts for permission to separate them despite the parents' wishes. It was granted, and the separation was performed in November 6, 2000. Jodi lived, as expected, but Mary died. Again, let's unpack this dilemma in like manner. You have two choices. Separate the twins or no procedure at all. Okay. There are two possible consequences. Positive consequence if we separate the twins. One lives. Positive consequence if we do not undergo the procedure. No one inadvertently dies. Negative consequence if we separate them, well, Mary dies. Negative consequence if they don't undergo the procedure, well, both of them die in 6 months. Again, you have a clear case of a dilemma. And how you choose would be dependent on how you value things. In your assignment, you were given two principles as well. You were given the same benefits principle and sacredness of life principle. These are two values which are both true and valuable. But there is now a conflict between these two values because if you agree to this, you would consider separating the twins. But if you agree to this, you might not agree to the procedure. The thing that goes in the mind of the parents here is, at least hindi tayo namili, hindi tayo nag-decide na yung decision na yan, it could result to one of them dying. At least if we allow nature to take its course, it would mean as if God made the choice rather than us. And if that's how they look at it, it would be more acceptable if it could be thought of as God making the choice rather than we making a decision that would lead to someone dying. Okay? Again, your responses are more on the benefits principle. Okay? So when you worked on this in our chapter 1, you were given two instances to analyze these two dilemmas. The first one is to simply choose in lesson 2, where you were expected to answer this using your raw morality that you brought to class. The second time, the last time you were asked to work on this, is a different answer sheet wherein you were asked to state your reasons and analyze your choices. That is in lesson 3 after discussing the difference between morality and ethics. The two activities you worked on twice has a rationale. The rationale is for you to see if perchance there's a difference in the way you answered them in the time when you were using your raw morality and after a time when you already have an idea what ethics is supposed to do as a philosophical study of your moral standards. Now at this point, we will not yet answer which of the choices are best. We will have to go through more discussions to be able to answer this properly in our ethics class. Later on, when we discuss emotions, you will again encounter these two dilemmas, but this time, you'll be using your emotions rather than your reasons. Again, the rationale would be to see if there is a difference in your responses and judgments. Now that you're no longer using your reason, but you are now using your emotions. So, our unpacking of the following activities is done. I hope you enjoyed our activity.